Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of AI Insights. I'm your host for today, Fleur Prince, and today we have a special guest. We're here with Nikki Barua. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's so awesome to have you here. Can you give our listeners a short introduction, who you are and what you do?
Thanks for inviting me, Fleur. It's great to be on your show, and I'm excited to share my experiences and insights with the audience. Really, the through line of my career has really been about helping companies and individuals adapt to change quickly. And it's really the challenge of the moment, isn't it? Throughout my career, I've worked with some of the world's leading companies and helped them figure out how to transform their culture, their capabilities, and constantly be agile and adaptive to change. And, truly feel like over all of these years, whether it was as a keynote speaker, as a board advisor, as an author, or a serial entrepreneur, I've had the opportunity to see disruption over the decades in so many different forms. And what we're facing today is truly the greatest disruption in modern human history. And so I'm excited about what's ahead, and I look forward to sharing more with that.
Yeah. Oh my god, thank you so much. Yeah, it's totally true. Like AI has put the world pretty much upside down. You're seeing so many companies like trying to figure out, do we need to do something it? Am I already using it? And what am I actually using it for? I
That's
love.
exactly right. I think, what the most common theme I'm hearing from companies across the world is really from their C-suite executives.
Mhm.
They're sort of finding themselves in this middle ground where the board is asking them, hey, what are you doing with AI? How are we leveraging AI in the business? And on the other hand, grassroots employees and teams are looking for direction from their leaders and saying, so what's our AI strategy? What's the vision? What are we allowed to do? What are we not allowed to do? Where are the guardrails? And C-suite executives are finding themselves sort of caught between both of those of having clarity of the vision and an actionable plan, but they themselves aren't quite sure where to begin. What exactly is the right AI strategy? So
Mhm.
it's an interesting dilemma that executives are facing. And but what's most important is don't stand still. You got to dive in.
No, exactly, and I've what I always also love about people from the bottom up from the company is always the engineers. They're like, "We've already been using AI for years. What are you guys talking about?"
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny where, really what's happened is the democratization of AI, right? Everybody has access to infinite intelligence today, but it's not a new technology. I mean, it's been around for such a long time. So those, the engineers and the folks in the tech world that have had exposure are sort of like, okay, welcome to my world, but I've been doing this for a while. But it is, very new to, executives in the business world because it's not about the technology, it's about the implications of what this technology is doing to traditional business models, to organizational cultures, to workflows and processes. And it's forcing them to really think about reinvention rather than adoption. Adoption is the easier thing to solve. Reinvention is, what does this mean if my entire business is turned on its head? Where do I even begin? It's sort of a blockbuster to Netflix kind of moment. Blockbuster would not become Netflix if it just added technology. It needed to completely reimagine every part of itself. And that's really what companies are facing.
No, that's totally true. So tell me a bit more, because you yourself are not an engineer, right? You also came to the field of AI a long time ago. So how do you leverage that?
Yeah. So, well, my first exposure to AI and neural networks was in 1997. So I'm like really dating myself here about doing. I was doing a techno MBA, which is a master's in technology, along with an MBA in strategy. I remember at that time the very first exposure I got and being able to build these models, it just absolutely blew my mind. I mean, all I could think of was, wow, the sheer power of what is possible with this is going to change the world. And this is from almost 30 years ago. And those were rudimentary model, not anywhere as sophisticated as what we have today. And so just recognizing the power of that, I knew right then that even though I'm not an engineer, I'm not a computer scientist, I knew that I had to build a career in technology and play a role in that. And though that's what led to a lot of the business, career choices I made, starting off with my first job at Ernst and Young, and started off in strategy and business consulting background, which gave me sort of a 50,000-foot view of what boards and CEOs care about. And at that time, I was helping them figure out how to buy, .com businesses and how to digitize their business models and all of that. And that led to the next phase of getting deeper into the tech side and building large scale applications and overseeing teams and helping some of the world's largest companies build really transformative applications, to going from that to digital transformation and helping organizations really reimagine the business from a digital first standpoint. And I've seen each wave, whether it was the internet boom or it was mobile or cloud, or, each of those has taken stages. The difference, though, that I'm seeing now is the sheer speed and scale. It's, even the internet took about 30 years for true mass adoption. What we're seeing with AI is happening in, months, not in years or decades. And that's an unnatural pace for most human beings to adapt to. But the key thing is, whether you come from a tech or engineering background or you don't, this gives us, it's an equalizer that allows everybody to participate. And the only thing that will hold you back is if you have preconceived notions of what your identity ought to be, instead of being an explorer who's willing to dive in and figure out how you can do more with AI.
Yeah. What do you also see? Like, actually, for me, it feels very weird to think about indeed, like the dot com bubble and everything when it started, because I grew up in it. So for me, it was everything felt very normal. Like when PayPal came out, the first iPhone came out. But indeed, the idea that you have to adapt very quickly now because of AI is very much true. I mean, I saw people like their mind was blown when Nana Pro Banana just came out,
Hmm.
where you're now seeing, for example, the CEOs of all the tech companies standing in a circle in a parking lot.
Yeah. That was a really cool image, though. The guys see Elon Musk and Satya Nadella all hanging out in a parking lot together. That was kind of a viral moment. But
No, exactly. I definitely imagine them doing that, like maybe somewhere in a business conference. They're like, guys, let's get together. Let's go eat some steaks and smoke some cigars. This is kind of how I imagine the world. But indeed, the way humans have to adapt, I also know is like for a lot of people, like regular people, it's already hard. But I can imagine for businesses,
Mhm.
finding the time to, okay, oversee how is it going to help us? How is it going to improve our business? How do you do that? Because you saw, for example, McKinsey already has like 25% running on AI. So when
Mhm.
it comes to consultancy, which is actually really good because it shows like, look, this is what AI can take over and help people with. But you also saw, for example, in Australia, the problem that Deloitte had where they wrote a report for the government
Yeah.
and they had to now reimburse the government because they were like, this report was written by AI and the sources don't even are not accurate. How do you see like finding a balance between the two of those?
Yeah, I think the challenge that businesses are currently experiencing, I see it on two ends of the spectrum. One set is sort of afraid to get left behind, and so they're going through the shiny object syndrome, buying whatever comes their way, signing up for licenses, investing in AI, simply with the idea that if we are first in adoption, we'll have some advantage coming out of that. The challenge is, if you dive in and invest without clarity on the business purpose or the specific use case that will deliver the greatest ROI, you end up wasting a lot of time, money, and frankly, erode trust that AI can actually generate value. So that's the downside of sort of jumping in with no clear purpose. On the other hand, I see companies that are still thinking that their industry is not really going to get impacted by AI. And so they're in this wait and watch mode of saying, okay, well, we're still successful and we're still profitable and we're still growing. Maybe we just do some AI training. And the reality is, if you're an investment banker, you don't need to vibe code, and build an app. Like, that's not the point. It's how are you reimagining what you do and do it better and essentially become exponentially more capable with AI. And that's the thinking that's missing, because it's either I'm going to, throw gobs of money at AI and hope something good comes out of it, or I'm going to wait and watch because I'm not sure it's really going to impact my business. And so the challenge is really figuring out what is the right path that allows the people within the organization to bring their innately human qualities and amplify that while evolving alongside AI and really figuring out where the leverage and where the co-working with AI actually delivers value. But even in doing so, the challenge that I'm observing of a lot of companies, they're so busy just in business as usual that being able to step back and reimagine this becomes problematic. And the only solutions that are typically out there are the ones that are big, expensive, bloated consulting offerings, which also are too slow, too monolithic, and not designed for the AI age.
No, and I definitely think when it comes to, yeah, when you're looking for advice, but you're also now very much looking, okay, how can I implement this into my business? How would you say businesses should look at that?
Yeah. The key thing is don't lose sight of the business fundamentals. Know your biggest business priority, if that is growth, if that is more revenue, if that is cost efficiencies. Identify where you can have a true competitive advantage in your business. From that, identify the specific use cases that will give you the leverage that you haven't been able to do thus far. And then operate in 90-day sprints. The key thing is don't do this like some episodic project with a start date and end date, with 2 years of time put into this and millions of dollars thrown. Do it like experiments where you're willing to look stupid, where you're willing to fail, and identify the specific use case where you can literally erase everything that existed. And if you were to create something new today, a new process, a new way of doing marketing or sales or product development, how might you do that in a way that you are leveraging AI agents, not just Gen AI, and working alongside people to achieve more. The ultimate goal should be how can you become exponentially capable, and how can AI give you a new kind of competitive mode, not just a little bit more efficiency. I think aiming for efficiency is a pretty low bar right now because we've truly moved past Gen AI into an agentic AI era.
Yeah, I think we're definitely approaching the, how do you go, symbiosis?
Hmm.
I don't think that's the right word, but
Yeah.
where human and computer are actually more closer than ever, like when it comes to work on the job.
Yeah. And that's really a big part of what we focus on is the idea of what we call an agentic human reinvention, where you are combining humans and machines to co-create together and effectively becoming exponentially more capable. I call it people squared. Imagine if you could clone yourself and do more. That's really how you have to think about it, not just using ChatGPT and thinking that's really great application of AI.
Yeah, but also looking at like the human and robotic collaboration that's now happening. I mean, you're seeing already, for example, Hugging Face is now investing in bots so that their models can be run on them. Do you see that there is a future in it as well when it comes to businesses? That's the human and robot collaboration.
It certainly depends on the type of industry. It's very obvious that is likely to happen within manufacturing or distribution, anything supply chain related. There are obvious use cases even now. Think about automotive that has been using robots and in building vehicles. But I think we'll start to see more and more use cases, and the biggest adoption curve will really come out of when the cost and the value gets aligned. If it's too expensive, it's not going to be used. The moment the cost goes down, you're going to start seeing more and more use cases. And the same is true of agentic AI as well. The cost factor and like its application is now making it more widespread.
What are, by the way, some of the, because like you said, you've already been in this business for like, I want to say 20 plus years. What are things that you learned that you think listeners should look out to if they, for example, like you want to go to the entrepreneurship? Because you recently even went, when we were talking off screen, to the EY awards for
Of the
entrepreneur.
year. Yeah, I see the future being the golden era of entrepreneurship. I think we are going to see more and more of the gig economy, either because larger companies are downsizing because they just need less capacity. Bigger businesses will become more successful, but they will need fewer people to generate that success. So as they shed people, if you're laid off and you can't find another job, you're kind of forced into entrepreneurship anyway, whether you like it or not. Right. And then there are going to be people who will see the opportunity to have freedom and autonomy and build a business with less capital requirement than even 5 years ago. I mean, today you can build a company with a lot less capital that is required. So it offers an opportunity for more and more people to pursue their dreams and bring their ideas into the world. And I think we're going to see a lot more creativity, a lot more agency, where towards a high agency world where people that operate with that mindset are going to be successful, whether they have a job or they own their own business. And we're going to start seeing more of that. What it ultimately requires to be successful is you have to let go of the identity that or the playbooks that got us here. So much of, especially people in my generation that are top executives today, there's an element of identity that gets formed where you say, I'm the expert. I know it all because I've been doing it for 20, 30 years and I've reached this level of seniority and I have this status and I have this title and I have this authority. If you hold on to that mindset and that identity, you are destined to fail because that is not how power will move going forward. It's going to come from grassroots, going to come from any environment. And you just have to go through life and work with an attitude of humility and curiosity and constant learning and kind of take a rookie attitude to everything. Be willing to learn from anyone, anywhere. And if you have that attitude, you will find success in your career or business, whatever you choose.
Yeah, because what I notice a lot of people why they don't want to take the leap when it comes to entrepreneurship is very much because they think like, okay, if I just do my work, if I work really hard, it will show by itself what I'm
Yeah.
capable of. But the shift that I made 3 years ago, also like when I started this podcast and everything, was that in order if you want people to see you, you need to be visible.
Mhm.
You say what would you think would help people to get more that extra push of being like, okay, just go full on Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever platform you want to be to show what they are able to do.
Yeah, and I think that is required whether you have a job or you have your own business or your own show, because at its core, the concept of security and certainty is not going to exist. If you think about the level of change and disruption we're going through, right? Can people truly, even if you have the world's best job and the world's best company, is there a guarantee that you will still have that job or that company will still exist? Everything is at risk. So, that is the need that we have to let go, that I need certainty, I need stability, I need security. The moment you let go of that, you realize you are 100% accountable for the results that you want to create. Whether you have a job or you want to start a business, just remember you're 100% accountable. And if that's the case, think like you are a product. And what does a product need to do? It needs to create massive value for its audience or its customers. It needs to be highly differentiated of why should people care. And you need to create awareness, which means you need to build your personal brand and be clear about what is it that you are able to provide value for. As you're able to do that, exactly what you're doing, building an audience and serving an audience and bringing value into the world. If you do that, that's what actually makes you unstoppable and provides a level of confidence that you can navigate through any kind of uncertainty and disruption.
Yeah, by the way, I saw also I was looking at your LinkedIn profile earlier as well. I saw that you founded Reinvention Roadmap.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about what it is? What you do?
Yeah, so Reinvention Roadmap is really the start of a media platform that's focused on helping professionals reinvent themselves for the AI age. Like we've said before, companies are lost of not knowing exactly how to guide their employees, and people in jobs are just waiting to figure out, like, what are you supposed to do? Do I go get a certification in AI? Do I, kind of tinker with tools on my own? They're really not sure what they're supposed to do. And the idea that you have to fundamentally shift your identity, your mindset, your behaviors, your skills, how you work, how you think, how you collaborate, all of that requires true, like, step-by-step guidance in that, and that's what Reinvention Roadmap provides.
Okay, so it's really a network you can sign up with, if I'm getting it correctly?
Yeah, so you can sign up for the newsletter, and there's a lot of other offerings coming soon.
Okay. Oh, that's really good to hear. It sounds very cool to be because I definitely think well you're in the middle of getting indeed the learning everybody about human in the loop process within AI because I notice a lot of people are scared of AI because of the fact that they're losing their job because of it.
Hmm.
But do you also see because for me it feels like also a lot of new jobs are popping up around AI.
Hmm.
Are you seeing the same thing or how are you looking at that?
Yeah, there's definitely, in the short term, we're going to see more jobs lost than the new ones that emerge over time. I think we'll see a disconnect of timing where initially it'll be more job losses. because the old jobs will fade away. And the way to process that and think about it is when civilization moved from, the into the industrial era, a lot of pre-industrial era jobs were lost. Farming jobs were lost or, they became obsolete. Same idea. We're moving into a different era. You cannot keep holding on to jobs that didn't make as much sense, and are not as value. Over time, we'll see a lot more new jobs created, an entirely new definition of what work looks like, what human value creation looks like. And that will be sort of the flourishing golden age of humans and machines creating value in the world together. The challenge, however, is that the people that lose their jobs for the outdated ones, if they don't reinvent and prepare themselves for the new jobs, they are going to be left behind. That's the disconnect. So you have to think in terms of the personal responsibility to say, okay, the job I used to do got eliminated and there's no market, no demand for it anymore. Do I just want to sit back and do nothing? Or can I figure out how to reskill, upskill, and reinvent myself for the future?
Do you have an example of a job would you say that's is going to be lost now, but how it can be reinvented so a person can look, for example, that because the thing that I have, for example, is I was a pursuit manager. I went
Hmm.
to AI and I became a community manager because a lot of people don't know how to talk to each other anymore, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of switched into the field myself. I don't know if you have some similar example to that.
Yeah, I mean, in any job that is highly administrative or it is very rule based, you think about basic bookkeeping skills or basic paralegal skills, or, if your job is essentially of processing a lot of paperwork. There are so many jobs where it's just reviewing forms and like processing and getting it from the inbox to the outbox. Those are the kind of jobs that just literally have no reason to exist anymore when machines can do it so much faster. The question you have to ask yourself if you're in any of those kind of roles is really understand beyond that, sort of administrative type of work, what is your unique zone of genius? Is it that you have an incredible attention to detail? Is it that you are able to resolve people's problems and give them more comfort? Are you someone who earns trust and is highly reliable? Extract those things out of, the work you did, because everybody has something of that sort. Maybe they're just a great relationship builder or community builder. Extract that and really think about how you might apply that in new context for the AI age, right? And so that's the piece that is important for people kind of do that real sort of self-assessment and be brutally honest. This is not a time to fake your resume or fake your skills. This is an opportunity to truly reinvent and become something that you can be anything you choose, because we all have a blank canvas and infinite intelligence at our disposal. You mentioned you're a community manager. If there was one thing I would personally bet on, it's all about the future of like actual, real people's community, including in real life communities, not just virtual communities. I think we're going to see much, much more of that because it's a natural reaction to living in a world that's highly digital and artificial intelligence driven.
Yeah, no, thank you, by the way, for the shout out for the community management. We usually don't get them a lot. But no, I agree. Like when I started with it 3 years ago, just in general with community management, I didn't know how much people actually were looking for that connection, especially in the tech world.
Yeah.
Because it's so much about, okay, we build our product, we're done, we go home, good day.
Yeah.
But now it's more like, okay, we actually want to come together, learn from each other, but we also just want to network, talk, drink beer, and have pizza. Because in our daily life, we don't get time to make that connection because everything's moving so fast paced.
Hmm. Yeah, I think people are feeling more and more isolated because so much of work tends to be hybrid. And, we miss out on those serendipitous moments that lead to great friendships or great conversations. And so there's a natural desire to connect with more people. But there's another value that communities bring that's really critical for the future. Networks and the quality of your community becomes a source of collective intelligence. Artificial intelligence, everyone's going to have the same exact thing. So, what gives you an advantage? It's actually your community and the collective intelligence you draw from your community. So, the nature of communities you belong to and the quality of those communities are going to be game changing.
So we're looking at exclusive communities being like the next form of currency, actually.
Absolutely. belonging to them, contributing to them, learning continuously from them, being able to tap into it. We are moving towards an environment where things can become really homogenous. There used to be a time where your knowledge was your trump card, right? Like because you had superior knowledge or specialized knowledge, that's what made you special. Well, if there's no longer any specialized knowledge or anything that is confidential or unique or limited to one person, then what distinguishes you? And that's where relationships and communities will play a huge role. So, shout out to all community managers out there. If that's what you're doing, your future is very bright and keep doing more of it because you will be the curators of collective intelligence in the future.
Okay. Well, definitely good to know. I'm definitely going to capitalize on this. No, it's very true.
The most important thing I would highlight for everyone, regardless of whether you're a techie or an engineer or completely on the opposite side of the spectrum where you don't get tech at all, think of AI as a co evolution partner. Don't think of it as a piece of technology that you're competing with. Think of it as something that can actually amplify you and bring out the best in you, which basically means authenticity and your zone of genius actually matters a lot. So discover what that is, lead authentically because trust is eroding faster than we can keep up. And people that stand out as trustworthy, as truly authentic, as value creators, doing something that machines can't do, that's what gives you a true competitive advantage. And so, double down on what makes you truly human.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the AI Insights. It was really lovely having you yourself because you're currently busy writing a book. So everyone, please keep in mind to keep following Nikki on LinkedIn, other social media platforms she's on. By the way, on which one are you live? I saw
On
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, LinkedIn and X, but mostly LinkedIn.
All right.
And I also encourage people to check out my website at nikkibarua.com. There's a lot of great resources, a lot of tons of content out there that really focused on helping people navigate all of the environment for it.
Awesome. So everyone, you can even she even has her own website. So definitely recommend checking it out. It was so nice having you. To everyone else listening, see you in the next episode. Where we're gonna have another awesome guest. So follow, like, and subscribe. It's gonna be awesome. And Nikki, again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Such a delight.
All right, everyone. Hey, we're signing off. Goodbye. Good night.